Not likely. Are the speeders ready?
Not yet. We're having some trouble adapting them to the code.
If you forced me to vote on what was Kenner's greatest Star Wars vehicle ever, I would say without hesitation that it was the Rebel Armored Snowspeeder. I never had the privilege of owning one of these as a child. I grew up at the tail end of the Empire Strikes Back era in the toy line, and then it quickly moved on to Return of the Jedi. The AT-AT Walker stayed in the line, but the Snowspeeder was phased out. And it bummed me because there were many friends I had who had the Snowspeeder, and I was super jealous. Not only was it my favorite vehicle in the trilogy, but it was so accurate, it had great dimensions, and it had amazing electronics. It was the complete package, and it could fit 2C batteries in the fuselage, which was amazing considering it restrained its proportions. Now, as an adult, as you can see, I've still maintained an obsession with the Snowspeeder, and I have two. So the Snowspeeder has a very special place in my heart and in nostalgia. What's interesting is that recently, one of our subscribers, a friend of ours named Juan, came to us and said that he had a Snowspeeder that he wanted to donate to the RetroBlasting archive. As any of you know who watch RetroBlasting, I'm always eager to help people, adopt toys or restore toys or fix their toys. In this case, it was very special because a Snowspeeder was involved, and not only have I never had to restore a Snowspeeder before, but it was a childhood Snowspeeder that was still with its original owner. So that was extra priority for me. What I didn't realize was that this Snowspeeder was a true survivor. He clearly favored it among all of his other vehicles growing up, and I guess that's why what was left of this Snowspeeder was still in his possession. This is Juan's Snowspeeder. And as you can see, it's missing pretty much everything. I feel like this is worth restoring. A lot of people in the toy collecting community would say, this is a Hulk, this isn't worth taking the time, it's going to be more expensive than it is to just buy a complete one. And they'd be right. They would part this out, clean up the few parts that are still usable, and call it a day. But this isn't a dirty Hulk that we found in a bin at a thrift store. It wasn't something that we found at a garage sale. This vehicle was with its original owner, who was reluctant to give it up and refused to sell it to a stranger. This is his childhood Snowspeeder, and so when I got it in the mail, I looked at it for quite a long time, and I decided that we're going to restore it with all of its original pieces still intact. We're not going to replace 90% of it. We're simply going to add back on to what has survived. The first step is doing a parts inventory, figuring out what we don't have and what we're going to have to acquire. As you can see, Juan's Snowspeeder needs some help. It's got no canopy. This is the canopy on the Snowspeeder. And of course the canopy has a glass. Juan's Snowspeeder doesn't have the back glass that it needs, which is on the back side for the gunner chair. Juan's Snowspeeder is missing the battery cover, which covers up the electronics compartment. Juan's Snowspeeder is missing both engines, which you can see right here. You have two engines. They are unfortunately removable. He's missing his main cannons. One of the other main components of Juan's Snowspeeder that's going to be our biggest challenge is he is missing the back section, the back cover of the Snowspeeder entirely. Now that piece, as you can see, is a major part of this vehicle, and it is not intended to be removable. There are plugs here, posts where this was permanently glued in, and somehow maybe it got shot by an imaginary AT-AT during his childhood, or it got stepped on, but it's now missing. So we're going to have to find this piece and replace it on here securely. He's also missing the harpoon with the harpoon block. We're going to have to add that back on. And it's going to need an extensive cleaning and brand new decals, because these decals, the ones that are still here, are shot. But the first thing we're going to have to do is disassemble this vehicle, and we're going to have to look at the interior components, separate everything out, remove the electronics, and get it ready for a bath. You always want to be careful when you're looking for these screws on any toy. You want to make sure you get them all out of there first, because if you think you've got them all out and you start tugging, you could start damaging and breaking sections of the toy. So the first two screws are here right by the seat. Dump those out, get those out of the way. looking around, seeing if there are any more screws. I don't see any here. So I'm going to move on and flip this over. We've got 2, 4, 6 screws on the underside. Fortunately, wand screws are not rusted. They've just simply lost some of their shine, which is good. That means we don't have to worry about replacing them. And it also means that this toy was never submerged in water, which is nice. It means that there might be a chance of salvaging the electronics inside, specifically the motor and wiring. It's also going to be challenging to figure out how we're going to clean the connectors in the battery compartment, but thankfully they don't look to be corroded. Alright, so now we are going to pull the fuselage halves apart. Make sure this is out of the way. Alright, here is the interior of our Snowspeeder. And here's the top of our Snowspeeder. First thing I'm going to do is gently remove the harpoon gun. Alright, that's out of here. So now this piece has no metal leads on it anymore. It is ready for cleaning. In this case, because it's so extreme, we're not going to worry about cleaning around the stickers. We're going to effectively obliterate these stickers and then replace them with reproductions. But like I said, this is an extreme case, so we're going to do what's necessary. Now on this half, we can easily remove the seat. We can easily remove the landing gear assembly, and this landing gear will be replaced because it's been bent pretty badly. So we're going to replace that. Fortunately, his spring looks like it's in good order, so we'll keep that. Get this plate out of here. And now we're looking at how to remove the electronics. This is one of those deals where you probably want to get photo reference before you start taking things apart. So I'm going to take still photographs copiously of this section, and then when I come back I'll have a record of this so that when I reassemble it I won't have any questions as to where any of these wires go. What we're having to do is find a way to get these electric connectors off this plastic before we wash it, because the last thing we want is for these connecting plates to be submerged in any kind of soap and water. The trick is that they are friction mounted to plastic posts that we don't want to break. All right, there's one. This one's tricky because it actually has electronics permanently attached to it. It looks like the negative lead. And there it is. So that's done. Now we have to make sure that these leads come off, and then we have to remember to tighten these back down upon reassembly.
See that coming off?
So do you think this is going to clean up better than it looks?
Amazingly so. You see the difference?
Yeah. After a long and grueling cleaning process, you can see that we've made a major improvement to the fuselage of Juan's Snowspeeder. So at this moment, the color is much closer to an original Snowspeeder mold, which is good because there was some questions as to whether or not Juan's Snowspeeder had been discolored over the years or was just covered in dirt. And thankfully, it was mostly covered in dirt. We did find some heat damage, we found some discoloration, and there are a few stress fractures in the fuselage of Juan's Snowspeeder, but nothing that would compromise the structural integrity of the hull. So we're going to be able to use this, thankfully, because I want to use all the pieces that survived from his Snowspeeder in the rebuild. So in part 2, we're going to test the electronics, make sure the bulbs and the motor still work. If they don't, we're going to try and repair them if we can. It's a complex assembly. Then at that point, we're going to put the hull of Juan's Snowspeeder back together, and prep it to put the additional lost parts on, as well as new decals, which will come in part 3. So stay tuned for part 2, and we'll see you on the next video.